Hello, we're expletives included. Today we're doing a Steven Universe rewatch podcast. I'm Dan. This is Keir. We're
Hello.
starting with episode 15, Onion Trade.
Yep. First broadcast March 17th, 2014. Written by Lamar Abrams. Directed by Ian Jones Quarterly. Um, where do we begin with this one?
Well, we can start with giving the proper title of the episode rather than what they say it is, Onion Trade, or we can just start talking about the guys.
Yeah, the guys. The
Guys. Okay, we'll come back to the title later. Basically, Steven's just looking for his guys.
well, one guy. His
One guy.
ranger guy.
Because Ranger Guy is the best guy, and
Yeah,
well, he's got history with Ranger Guy.
yeah. And he's a variant.
Is he a variant or was he just like a production error?
Same deal.
Same deal. Fair enough.
It makes him valuable.
Um, and Pearl, ever the responsible parent, um, basically suggests that Stephen tidy his room, and then he'll be able to find things.
Because there's a seagull in there with banana peel on its head stealing pizza.
I assume it already ate the banana and was having the pizza for dessert.
That makes sense. You wouldn't
It
put
makes total sense.
you wouldn't put banana on pizza, so yeah. You would
Hmm.
separate the two out.
I
And
don't
then
know. I think you probably could put banana on pizza.
no, it'd dry out.
No, you'd have to like do it like just before you ate the pizza.
Hmm,
You
maybe.
can't cook the pizza and then you put the banana on top.
Ah, the muesli approach.
Yes. I can't wait for us to start doing our cooking show.
With zero bacon.
And today we're doing a recipe for diabetes.
I have a bag of sugar and an IV needle. You can see where this is going.
Okay, and if you don't throw up after eating the main course, just wait for dessert.
Caramelized sugar.
Caramelized sugar with caramel and sugar. Um, Also, it's revealed that Pearl has a magic axe.
Yeah, kind of weird given the next episode.
Well, also, we have the earlier episode where Stephen goes into the temple and we see that she's basically just got. I think she's just like dancing in a fountain or something, or she's just using a dance as a kind of ritual to put all the swords away. She's basically got five or so swords at the top of fountains. She dances, the water
Yeah,
goes down, and they kind of kept in the pool of swords.
yeah.
I think they're all swords,
Yes, yes, they are.
and she's the accomplished sword fighter. So my
Though,
question is, do we ever see this magic axe?
well, first of all, she doesn't actually. Her magical weapon isn't a sword.
Oh
She,
yeah, it's more like a glaive or a spear, isn't it?
yeah, she fights with a pole arm.
Hmm.
So weird.
It's basically a spear with a sword on the end of it.
I actually thought the twirly bits are bladed as well.
Just in case you need to
Well,
screw into someone.
helps remove the guts.
Oh, that I don't know. That sounds very gross and messy for Pearl.
True, true. But here's my thought. When she says magical axe, she doesn't mean the weapon.
She means magical axe body spray.
No, guitar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Have you seen my magic guitar?
yeah. And she uses axe because she doesn't want Stephen to steal it.
It's my magic guitar. It's got a +2 to whatever. I don't know.
+2 to
I
perform.
wasn't smart enough to think of something on the fly.
Actually, it'd be only masterwork if it was +2. It would have to be, let's say a +6 to performing power ballads.
A +6 to shredding.
Yeah.
That'll do. Um,
Yeah. And
it's revealed that.
then, well,
Now you carry on.
let's set the scene. We're on the terrace of the beach house. Amethyst is just sunning herself.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen wants to know where his guy is, and Pearl comes on out demanding to know where her magical axe is, presumably so she can, rock on out,
Mm-hmm.
um, stating that she doesn't want to search Amethyst's room because it's too messy for her. It's just horrifying.
Yep. Although she has been down there before.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, I suppose that she hasn't had to kind of rummage around and search, so fair enough. Yep.
Yeah. Uh, and, Amethyst's room is fairly messy. I mean, it did stink out the entire temple, which, as we've discussed before, probably exists across multiple dimensions.
Yes. That's what I've seen.
I mean, one burrito did that,
Yeah, but it was 6 years old.
and a tuna burrito.
It was a tuna burrito, and it was also on the top layer of the mountains of trash.
Yeah. Also, her room's got loads of pools in it, so I imagine it's quite moist down there as well.
Yeah, that's intervention level of
Yeah, I mean,
mess.
imagine the fungal spores down there.
Humans would probably die.
Well, Stephen's been down there.
He's half gem,
He has
and he's only been down there for a few minutes at a time. Pearl makes it perfectly clear that most times he's not allowed in the temple.
True. I mean,
I'm just thinking that maybe because I think her reasoning was it's too dangerous in the temple, and sure he did kind of go in there, fall down a waterfall, and almost fall into oblivion.
hmm,
But I think she was probably talking about Amethyst's room.
sounds fair. Sounds fair. I mean, in a later episode, he gets his own room in the temple, so.
Mhm.
And that's not directly connected to Amethyst's room as far as we're aware.
Okay, yeah, that just goes to prove my point,
Yeah. Um,
without a shadow of a doubt.
yeah. So, neither of the gems has any idea what Stephen's talking about. They don't even know what his guys are.
Mhm.
And there's some. It's actually an acronym.
Yes. Did I write it down?
Here it
I
is.
did not.
Guys under your supervision.
That was the one.
So it's an acronym that is guys, and the first word of it is guys.
Well, did you never do those like acronym poem type things in like primary school where you like had a word and then you had to like do a poem and like the start of each line had to be it had to fit the letter and then it was like so it'd have like poetry and then the first line would start with P and then the second one would start with O and then the third one would start with E and that's what you do. The first line of the poem would always be what the acronym was.
No, I never did those.
I did, and I can tell you that 100% of the time that the first one of the acronym was always the acronym.
I see.
Everyone in class.
Um, I'm just looking at a list of the guys.
Hmm.
We have Ranger Guy, Invisible Guy, Apple Guy, Ninja Guy, Construction Guy, Eye Guy, Cop Guy, Cat Guy, Jagged Guy, Chocolate Guy, Lady Guy, and Dave Guy.
Lady Guy? I don't remember him listing off Lady Guy. In fact, I don't remember Apple Guy either, I don't think.
Um,
Are these like all of the guys, or are they like.
these are all the officially listed guys.
Are you reading from the script as well then?
I'm reading from the guys section of the Steven Universe wiki.
Maybe there are more guys revealed later in the show.
I only remember them appearing in this episode, but I could be wrong.
Um, and I got a very Mega Man feelish from these guys. maybe just because we had like when he's like explaining all of the guys, he basically first off just lists 8 guys, and
Hmm.
they're kind of set around like in a 3 by 3 square with Steven's face in the middle, and that just kind of seemed that's the Mega Man title selection screen.
Yeah, I can see that. But
Maybe if he fights and kills all of them, he'll gain their powers.
quite possibly. But you really have to game the order.
I don't know. I think I've done it in the wrong order sometimes. It's well,
Depends on which version.
if you know the order to go in, then it would be a lot easier.
Mm. But we're not quite at the guys yet. First, Stephen
Oh,
goes to see Greg,
yes,
who also lives in a tip.
he does. You wouldn't imagine that you'd be able to make a band all that messy.
I mean, you know, normally when you live in a small space, you are very efficient in terms of how you use it.
Hmm. What is it, like a 2 by 6 foot rectangle?
It's a standard van, so,
So yeah, it can't be that big.
you know, um, well, it's big enough for him to lie down in.
Hmm. And and Stephen basically tells his father, tells Greg, that he's lost something very important to him.
And he wonders if he's lost his innocence.
Yes. How old is Stephen? When will we learn?
Who knows? And Greg has absolutely no idea about the guys. He
But he
just,
does remember the same day. Um,
for different reasons.
yeah, for the funnel cake and the commemorative plate, which he then goes into his truck to try to find, and
Yeah,
lo and behold, as is the motif of this episode, he can't find it because it's a mess.
yeah. Though he actually says one of the most disgusting things I think in the series during this section.
I'm not sure what you're getting at.
Well, first he opens the van and a bunch of balloons fly out,
Yes.
and then he begins sorting through. And I'll read you the line. Let's see. Got some cans, napkins. Oh, a yo-yo. And a book on yo-yo tricks. A sandwich I've been meaning to catch up on. That sounds disgusting to me.
Because yo-yos are so awfully 90s?
Well, they're coming back in. But
That's awesome.
it's a 20-year cycle. But a sandwich I've been meaning to catch up on. How long has that sandwich been there?
That's true. I'm assuming it's not a 6-year-old burrito.
Not quite that level. But, when I say, oh, here's a book I've been meaning to catch up on, that means it's sat on my shelf normally about 6 months to a year.
I don't think his sandwich has been there for 6 months to a year. I'd
It's,
say maybe a few days, a week tops.
I mean, he might be saying it just for humor, but
I think, given Greg's humor, something said in jest.
possibly, possibly. So,
But again, I say I give it a few days, a week tops.
given the way this man is, he probably bought that yo-yo when he first came to Beach City.
So you're assuming that this sandwich is under the yo-yo in the book of yo-yo tricks?
Yes.
I don't know. I think given how I organize my entropic mess of a room, that it's probably just going to be to the side, because you never cover sandwiches. You forget about them.
I've seen people who have had sandwiches at the bottom of piles. It's disgusting.
There are two main reasons why you never store sandwiches at the bottom of piles. One is the aforementioned you might forget about it, but two, you're going to squash the sandwich. You don't want to squash the sandwich. I mean, if you go like the triangles pointing upwards and then you flatten it down, just like top, like horizontally, then it's just going to be a mess. There is like maybe some argument for flattening like a flat horizontal sandwich, But then I don't know. You have to like do it in a toaster machine, and you have to be. It has to be like a conscious effort. You can't just flatten a sandwich for no apparent reason.
Well, it's these complex dilemmas that are the reason behind the sandwich cult.
Those sound like some good people.
It's actually a reference to the, uh, I think it's the final Hitchhiker's book. Arthur Dent becomes the priest of the sandwich cult on this planet, where he prepares the sacred sandwiches.
Okay.
I think that's a great idea for a religion.
Yeah,
So
but that's well, I don't know, because then wouldn't we have to like burn Greg as a heathen?
possibly.
Well, we still actually don't know what he did with this sandwich. We just have to have an inquisition.
I mean,
Nothing fancy, just good regular old fashioned inquisition.
well, it might not have been a sacred sandwich, it might have been a regular sandwich.
But surely, for the cult of the sandwich, all sandwiches are sacred.
In the same way that all sperm is sacred. But there is the sacramental sandwich that is made from the special bread with the meat of the humongous beast.
Well, I think it's probably fair to say that Greg didn't have, this sacramental sandwich.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But he'll get a stoning or some such.
Yes.
But basically, Greg has no idea what Stephen's talking about and just gives him a bunch of quarters.
Yeah, so that he can get a new guy.
Yeah. And then we get a fancy vending machine.
Mm-hmm.
Fancier than any I've seen. But I don't really understand the sort of collectible figure thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ones that I've always seen are just like you kind of put the money in, you turn the handle, and then it's like a small. I think it's like gashapon is like the proper term, or like
Yeah,
Japanese term.
I've seen pictures of the vending machines in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are crazy.
I've heard stories, but that's probably an entirely different situation.
Yeah, I mean, those are high quality miniatures and stuff.
All right, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think I've seen a few like decent quality figurines, just like about town.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, nothing with like light up, and then it's like because it flashes, it kind of does like a random selection screen type thing, and then it kind of actually says what guy you're getting. It's like Dave guy,
Yeah.
Dave guy, Dave guy.
Aren't you lucky?
Yep, voices and everything. Dave guy comes with taxes.
Yeah, and a terrible haircut.
Um, so yeah, he gets 30 Dave guys, which just seems wrong. Given the law of averages, maybe it is possible, but 30 Dave guys, that's just lazy writing.
Well, I think it was meant to be that the vending machine was out of everything else.
Well, yeah, but it's a random selection. It's not like you kind of put in a quarter and it's like, I want Ranger guy. You can't like it's like, Dave guy, put him back into the machine. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe someone did just like get lots of Dave guys and just went to Mr. Smiley and it's like, I don't want these guys, just take them back. And then he just put them back in the machine. Okay, we have discovered a semi-legitimate answer to this puzzle of the vending machine with 30 Dave guys.
Yeah. And yeah, and much to Stephen's disgust, he has 30 Dave guys now.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the worst. He has taxes with him.
Mm-hmm. He's the worst guy.
Yep.
Worse than Jagged Guy, whose personality trait is that he's got jagged lines in his character design.
Yeah. But in his despair, Stephen sees that Onion has a ranger guy.
Yes. While is Onion just walking past, or is he in like the briefcase shop?
He's walking past, and Stephen follows him to Suitcase Sam's Suitcase Emporium.
which sells suitcases.
Yes. And somehow Onion talks Suitcase Sam into giving him his lunch.
Yeah, it looks like they're haggling over a suitcase, and then Onion's like, "Okay, just give me a sandwich instead." Well, I don't know. We heard no dialogue in this.
Yeah.
No idea what transpires. But he just
What threats did Onion make?
say again.
What threats did Onion make? Is he running a protection racket across all of Beach City?
Well, I have seen like the one gif of him with like a cricket bat, I think, and he's just
Baseball
kind of
bat.
baseball bat. And oh yeah, baseball, of course. Um, but yeah, and he's just kind of he looks rather threatening. Maybe he is running a protection racket.
Well, we know he likes wanton destruction from this episode.
Yes.
I mean,
And yeah, we also know from this episode how far he's willing to go. The
just
answer
for
is far.
just for chaos.
Chaos for chaos's sake, yes.
I mean, as the ancient wisdom of Michael Caine goes, some people just want to watch the world burn, Mr. Wayne.
And that's exactly what Onion does with ketchup and a moped.
Yeah. I mean, first we see Onion waste a perfectly good hamburger lunch
Yeah, he just chucks it into the ocean.
while he waits for his dad to show up.
Hmm.
A gentleman by the name of Yellowtail.
Stephen is horrified with this wanton waste of sandwich.
Particularly the waste of a tomato.
Yeah. Is tomato part of the sacramental sandwich?
Not that I know of.
Because, well, it's on another planet, I assume, so maybe they don't have tomatoes. I'm sure if this was an Earth-based cult, it would have tomatoes.
Really? I don't particularly like tomatoes in my sandwiches.
Mm.
Maybe that's the great schism of the sandwich cult.
It's one that would arise, I believe,
I mean,
if this religion came to pass.
what condiments do you put with it? Is mayonnaise a acceptable substitute for margarine?
Is there going to be one single deity or a whole pantheon of different condiments? Could you offer up a prayer to the tomato ketchup god by making a bacon and red sauce, a bacon and tomato sandwich?
Well, I assume the different deities would be different sandwiches with different fillings.
Well, yes, but what? Well, if there's like a bacon sandwich god, then would you put tomato sauce or brown sauce? I mean, tomato
Or
sauce is what I would prefer, but the canon in England is that you put brown sauce on a bacon sandwich.
Yeah,
Would I be a heathen, a heretic?
quite possibly. I mean, presumably each deity would require different sacraments.
Mm.
But the question, would the cheese toasted god be the god of the underworld?
No, I'm sure there are some char-grilled sandwiches that we could think of that would be much more fitting to a fiery hell.
Hmm. And where does the panini fit in?
The panini is purgatory.
That
It's
makes
not quite a
sense.
sandwich. It's not kind of char-grilled. It's in the middle.
Yeah, but damn, it's tasty.
Mm.
Anyway, back to the show. So
Yes, Onion's father and Onion.
yeah,
They're Peanuts comics voices.
yeah,
And it's not that we just can't hear them. Because Stephen like says, "Oh, maybe they don't need words," and they are just that. It's not even like they're speaking a different language. They're just making noises.
I mean, it is meant to be a different language, just one that doesn't exist.
Oh, okay.
Because we hear it more clearly from Sour Cream in another episode.
Surely they could make up like a few fake words, or just kind of or just find an obscure language. Hmm.
Maybe they're going to go somewhere with it. Who knows?
Maybe.
But after this, Stephen tries to trade his Dave guys for Onion's Ranger guy.
Hmm. Stephen is bad at haggling.
Onion just wants more.
Yeah. It's like one Dave guy, two Dave guy, 30 Dave guy.
The whole bag of Dave guys.
Mint condition.
Still in pod.
Yep. Never been opened.
Yeah. And then we get...
One silly ranger guy.
And so Stephen dejectedly goes home with all his Dave guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Amethyst is still just lying there.
Yeah. But she hasn't been there the whole time. She did go to look for the axe.
Yeah, and then found Pearl's replicator wand.
Mm-hmm.
Which is magic.
Yeah. And, well, basically she suggests if he needs more Dave guys to trade, then use the replicator wand, get more Dave guys.
Yep. I mean,
deal.
She was keeping it in her hair, though.
Well, she just, like, had her hands behind her head, so she might have just been holding it.
For hours?
I don't think there was a side table next to her, or was there?
No, there wasn't.
So, well...
But yeah. So...
not hours, because, like, she did go to her room in the temple, she found it. She had to go to Pearl's room, replicate a lot of trash to go in there.
Yeah.
She's been busy. She hasn't been there the whole time.
That's a busy day for Amethyst.
Mm.
So, Stephen starts replicating Dave guys and shooting them at Onion.
Mm-hmm.
After something quite horrifying.
Yes, he just kind of gets all the tomato ketchup, throws it in the air, and then runs over it all with his moped.
Doing spinning and tricks until it spins off, he jumps off, and it explodes, and there is a wall of fire behind him.
Yeah, but the fact that I just... It looks like blood on the ground, kind of. Especially after the whole Frybo incident.
Yeah.
Where, we have actually had, like, the parallels between ketchup and blood before. And now it's just him, there's this bloody mess on the floor, and he's just doing tricks on it.
Yeah. Onion is a being of pure chaos.
Was it you or Connor who was saying that they believed that Onion was actually a Lich King?
I don't remember. I may have intimated I thought he was an Eldritch Horror.
Eldritch Horror, that's probably it. Or just like some kind of Gem Lord or Gem King.
That was Connor's theory.
No, Lich is what I think, because basically... I can't remember the exact part, but Onion's eyes just go wide, and his pupils just go tiny, and then there's just fire behind him. And that just seemed, to me, just exactly like the portrayal of the Lich in Adventure Time. Who's always kind of... He's got a background of green fire always, and he's got like the kind of tiny pupils and the massive eyes, and it's just... Onion is the Lich from Adventure Time. There's no two ways about it.
I don't know Adventure Time, but I do know my D&D lore. Liches don't go towards chaos. They're very logically ordered minds.
I'm sure that Onion has a perfectly ordered plan behind all of this.
I think he's more Joker than Lich. He's just a dog chasing cars.
I don't know. I don't think we'll ever be able to peer into the mind of Onion.
Not without making a hell of a sanity check.
Mm.
But so Stephen starts producing vast numbers of Dave guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we do actually hear sirens during the background of this scene, by the way.
There are police in Beach City.
Well, one, I imagine. But
probably just Connie's dad.
Well, he protects the beach, not the city.
He was called in to deal with the Onion problem.
But Onion wants the wand.
He does. And this is the Onion trade, essentially. This is the trade with Onion.
Yeah.
Title of the episode. And this is why I think it shouldn't be called onion trade, just because like the fire, the imagery, the eyes. Um, this isn't Stephen cutting a deal, like trading with onion. He's making a deal with the devil.
So what we should call this? Um,
Cutting a deal with the devil. Stephen makes pact with the devil. Just something like that.
I was trying to think of a Faustus joke. You know,
I'll give
Doctor
you a minute.
Universe. That
Say
might be
again?
Doctor Universe. That might be a bit obscure though.
Yeah.
Though this is kind of the wrong way round because normally the devil gives you something that causes doom. Stephen is giving the doom.
But it's still like an it's Doom is still enacted upon Beach City, and
Yeah, but
it's an
that's a,
overly one-sided trade in favor of the devil.
yeah, but that's not a traditional devil's trade. You know, he gives you the rope to hang yourself.
Well, he does. Well, and also there's like the thing that the devil gives you something that you think you want, but only when you have it you realize that it's not bringing you happiness. It's not what you want. This isn't what you thought you were getting out of the trade. Stephen gets Ranger Guy back, and he's like, "Were you always this boring?"
Yeah, I'll give you that part of it. I mean, admittedly, after this, we do transition to just Stephen playing with the Ranger Guy on the beach.
Well, yeah, it's just like, well, Stephen is basically having his moral quandary. Does he really trade the wand for Ranger Guy? It's not his wand.
No, he doesn't
It's
even. He was already traded it. He's got Ranger Guy. He's like,
well, no, like because when Onion like says like I want the wand. Well, he doesn't say. It. He just kind of motions to it, and he kind of motions with his hand. It's like, oh, and that. And yeah, he looks like he's having a hard time deciding, and then it's just cut him playing with Ranger Guy.
yeah. And then Dave guys start falling out of the sky.
Hmm. Much to Stephen's horror, or well, much to his distaste rather. He's like, I thought I got rid of you.
Yeah. And then the gems show up, and it's like, Pearl's like, how did a child get my magic wand?
And this is just where Amethyst is like, hey, aren't these Stephen's guys?
Yeah, these Stephen's little men. This has nothing to do with me, Pearl.
Um, and yeah, the fight ensues between the gems and Onion trying to get the wand back.
Yeah. Also, Pearl points out the perfect logical flaw. Stephen, why didn't you just replicate Ranger Guy?
Yes, Pearl has all of the sense.
Yeah. And then we get Stephen being a bit cryptic for a moment. His advice is to act like a rich duck,
Oh well, that's how you kind of
swim through the ocean of Dave guys.
yes.
Also, I think Onion critted on his use magic device check
Well,
because
he just no. This is why he's the devil. He understands how to use this just kind of innately. Or it's why he's the Gem King. He
far
knows
better
how to
than
use this
Stephen.
gem artifact.
Far better than Stephen. He creates a literal wave of Dave guys.
Yes. I mean, Steven's just like, flop, there's one, flop, there's one. And then Onion's just like, whoosh, just tsunami, Dave
Yeah.
guys.
Um,
And also, I think it bears noting that Onion actually beats Garnet, kind of.
well, he throws multiple cars at her.
Yes. And knocks her back. And basically, she's like, dude, we can get close to him.
Yeah. It should also be noted, Greg shows up in the scene,
Yes.
and him and Amethyst have a little moment.
Remind me. It's just like I think Greg's just like it's like what's going on, and then Amethyst is just like gem
Yeah,
stuff.
a thing. But she's
Just doing her job.
but she's actually kind of friendly towards him, which is nice.
Yeah, I think Amethyst. Well, they're both the slobs.
Mm. Um, so Stephen figures out the situation. He just um, Onion's being destructive because he's lonely and waits for his dad all day.
Well, actually, before we get to this, we just find out that Onion's ranger guy was also a variant and has a very suspicious SU painted on his feet.
Yes, Onion stole Stephen's ranger guy.
Yeah. And yeah, which basically just like Steven's like, our trade didn't happen. You traded me something that I already had. Hint, hint, devil.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And then Garnet really can't be asked to clean up, so she just smashes the wand.
much to Amethyst's chagrin as well, because it means that all of the trash that she replicated in Pearl's room disappears as well.
Yeah.
She was very disappointed.
But and then it ends with moment between Greg and Stephen.
Well, actually, Stephen does give Onion Ranger Guy because,
it's clear he needs it.
yeah, because like you said, it's about, well, Stephen just says like, well, you just missed your dad and you just wanted to occupy the time, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
Greg
and
is pleased with this.
yeah, you went through all this trouble for a toy. Yeah, but it's the memories that were important. And now I have new memories. Horrible, horrible memories.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah,
Having watched this episode,
yeah.
every time I just try to picture Onion's like death face in this episode, it gets continually more and more horrifying. He almost looks like Mole Man now in my imagination,
He is kind of horrifying.
and he is kind of Mole Man from Simpsons.
Mole Man's an aged old man, though.
Mole Man is ageless, small, and a bit creepy. More than a bit creepy.
He doesn't cause mass destruction, though.
He would if he could.
He gets the most memorable thing he does is get a football kicked into his groin.
When he takes the world by storm with his filmmaking prowess. That's a different cartoon.
Down I go. Yeah, we're never doing a Simpsons rewatch podcast.
Well, if we wanted to make a bit of content for a few years.
For several lifetimes.
Mm.
There has been more...
like one a day we could get through it.
Dan, there's been more Simpsons than there has been us.
Wait, what?
Simpsons has existed longer than we have.
That's a long time.
Yeah. It started in the 1980s.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
Mm.
But anyway, so, what did you think of this episode?
How much have we actually learned about Onion in this? Because it's been a very onion centric episode, but we've learned that his father is a fisherman and they have some language that's not English. And actually, no, we've also learned that he's very good at haggling and he always gets what he wants. And I don't know, maybe we have learned a few things about Onion.
Yes, to fear him.
To fear him, primarily. And it's been a pretty fun episode. It's again, it's not really concentrating on the fantasy stuff that I really love, but it's it's action orientated. Things were happening, which I'm ecstatic about.
After our last 2 episodes.
Yeah. And we got in a fight. We saw Onion. Onion's always fun, even if he does horrify you. I don't know. I guess average. It just feels like an average episode to me.
Hmm. I mean, we did get the fantasy stuff in terms of the wand.
which was kind of cool, and it does kind of make you think, well, what is Amethyst's magic guitar like? Where did she get this wand? You know, there's like cool things like extra world building
Hmm.
artifacts. There are lots of strange and unusual magic devices that we've yet to see.
Also, this is the first, I think the first, other than the scroll, clearly magical device that can't be really explained by science.
Which scroll?
The evil scroll.
Have I seen that yet?
Yeah, from Together Breakfast. That possesses the breakfast and goes mad.
That feels like a long time ago.
It was.
Um,
That was our second episode.
mm. um, but yeah, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It is cool world building. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is a fun little episode. A bit throwaway. I do like the fact it concentrates on a background character. You know, also a background character who doesn't speak, which is very nice. Um, I think the premise is more than a little stupid, but it's fun. That's all I really have to say about it. It's fun.
Mm.
It
So,
gets us to our next episode.
which I like a bit better
Mm.
because it's Pearl focused.
You damn pearl fag.
It's Pearl focused, but she's dead for half the episode, so I don't know.
Yeah. So let's move on to Stephen the Sword Fighter.
Yes, we open with.
Let me do this thing. Let me do
Oh
a
yes,
thing.
sorry.
My thing.
Oh,
Episode 16, first aired April 9th, 2014. Written by Joe Johnston and Jeff Liu, and directed by Ian Jones Quarterly. So, we begin by something that I think we all share: watching terrible Japanese movies.
I've only really seen the ones that you've shown me, but you know they are always good fun.
And terrible.
Well, actually, no. I watch a few terrible martial arts movies. That can be said. This is more like a samurai film than a martial arts film.
Yeah, this is Lonely Blade 4, which I think might be a reference to, like, the Wolf and Cub movies and those kind of samurai movies, where it's just completely weird and strange.
It does seem quite weird and strange. I've never actually seen the Lonely Cub movies. Is that like a
Wolf and Cub.
series or like a?
Yeah, it's a series of films and also a manga series about a renegade samurai executioner and his son. And the son spends most of the movies in this sort of mobile bamboo pram, but it's more decked out than Batman's vehicles. It has like Gatling guns, blades that shoot out of it. It's crazy.
Hmm. This does seem quite crazy.
Yeah. Also, I don't know why they chose to do this. The look of the film is sort of like a traditional samurai movie, but the antagonist is just wearing a jumpsuit.
Well, he's a janitor. He's masquerading as a janitor.
In the Edo period.
Yes.
With a tradition. Whatever. It's funny.
Well, it's very anime, and all their moves that they use all have names that they all have to scream out before they actually use them.
No, that's a thing in some samurai movies as well.
Oh, okay.
Also, should be noted, it's subtitled.
Yes. We'll get back to that later.
Oh, I like the fact it's a sub.
Mm.
And the Gems and Stephen, with Stephen sitting on Garnet, watching this film. And it's nice that they're all doing a thing, watching a cheesy movie together. They all seem to be enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. Well, apart from Pearl, I guess.
Well, she's nitpicking, and that's always fun.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
I do like to do that with my movies.
Yeah. You know, it's just that sword technique's terrible.
Well, the footwork is terrible. The sword technique, what is it, the boomerang blade?
Yeah,
That's totally, it's just not real. It just couldn't be done in real life.
well, he connects two katanas to each other and throws them.
And, well, actually, we don't see it go back to him. So it could be,
It could be incredibly effective.
well, I don't know, because I imagine from what we see, it seems to be the kind of thing that happens when I throw a boomerang, in that I throw it away, and then it doesn't come back.
That's how boomerangs are supposed to work.
Really?
If you have a hunting boomerang, which is what the Aborigines actually used to hunt things,
Mm-hmm.
well, the Australian Aborigines, I should say, it was meant to get stuck in the thing you were throwing at's neck.
I thought it was supposed to come back just in case you missed or something, and then you
No,
didn't have to load up with weapons.
no, you know, the returning boomerang was a sport thing. You know, it's essentially a wooden throwing knife.
Well, that's my random fact of the day.
I know too much about boomerangs.
I know remarkably little about boomerangs. That's why I'm the everyman.
Yeah, well, you know, I grew up with Australian culture. My dad was obsessed with it. Why do you think I play the didgeridoo?
Because didgeridoos are cool.
No, because I was taught by my father to play an
Uh,
instrument that has 0 notes. Anyway,
Anyway, moving swiftly on.
so we have, you know, Pearl scoffing, and offhandedly she says, you know, if you ever want a demonstration of proper sword technique, Stephen, I'll show you. And then we just sort of pan up to Stephen, eyes full of stars.
And basically, he just puts his hand on Pearl's head, just like, yes.
Um, and then we cut to presumably another part of Pearl's room.
I'm not sure, because it's. I remember Pearl's room just kind of seemed.
Well, it had a lot of water and such, so maybe this is their training room.
Yeah, I'm not. Is it part of the temple? There seemed to be like. Did it look like Japanese to you, or just some kind of kanji like written on all of the pillars?
Possibly. Some kind of iconograph, but it sort of looked like a floating platform, kind of ruined in clouds.
Yeah, and yeah, it's in ruins. Everything in this world is in ruins.
Well, it's many thousands of years old.
Ruins are cool, but you can still like I don't know, because the sky tower they had,
Mm-hmm.
they were going to like replace a statue, and that would have kind of
That would have fixed it
yeah.
because of
So
reasons.
surely they have the magic, they have the technology to keep things in order.
I think that was sort of this was their one chance to fix it because of some manner of astral alignment.
I suppose.
But so Pearl says, right, I need a sparring partner. Stephen instantly raises his hand, and Garnet lowers it.
Hmm.
So she creates Hollow Pearl.
Hmm.
Oh, it should also be noted, Amethyst is floating on a cloud.
Yes, which I think is probably well, it's a
It's a Dragon Ball reference, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. Amethyst isn't pure of heart, or is she? I don't know. Because you have to be pure of heart to ride the flying
Nimbus.
Nimbus.
Yeah.
But also, it's just like some kind of. I'm struggling to find the word. It's a thing which happens in this part of the temple, this part of the world that we don't see anywhere else.
No, we do see her in other parts of the temple on the Nimbus still.
Outside of this episode,
No, inside this episode. She eats it at the end, remember?
yeah, because I think she just kind of takes it back with her.
Yeah, because we see them come, Amethyst and Garnet come back from a mission, or warping in, and Amethyst
she's
is
still riding the cloud, isn't she?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So we get Hollow Pearl, and this just shows what a nerd regular Pearl is,
Hmm.
because Hollow Pearl is sort of engaged with these stock cliches.
Your first mistake was challenging me to do battle.
Yeah. And
We shall let our swords decide.
Amethyst calls her on it, just calling her a nerd.
Well, earlier in the episode when we were watching The Lonely Blade 4, Pearl is like, oh, guys, this is. It's obvious that this guy was the main bad guy. He was even on the cover of the art.
Yeah.
On the art on the cover.
Yeah.
And Garnet and Amethyst are just like, shh.
Yeah.
And then Stephen and Garnet are like, shh, to Amethyst when she calls out that she's a nerd.
Yeah.
It's just a nice parallel between the two of them, I think.
Also, it should be noted, the video, they were watching a video. It was a VHS tape.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Which just bears noting because it bears noting?
Yeah, I mean, they exist in modern times.
VHSs still exist, yes.
Not anywhere to buy them.
No. Well, I'm not sure, because it only takes them 2 weeks to find Lonely Blade 5.
Yeah, so that's a dub, so who knows.
Mm.
But then we get a kick-ass fight scene.
It really is, and we haven't really said that like the whole training ring, the training area, is also another really beautiful kind of gem architecture type place. I think one of my favorite ones, just because it does kind of make me think back to Giant Woman, which I think is now my benchmark for beautiful things in Steven Universe. It's what I'm always going to refer back to, just with like the kind of cream coloured architecture and the white clouds and kind of orangey lighting.
I mean, this is obviously a far more simple set, but I mean, I concentrated far more on the swordplay in this scene because that entire scene of gorgeous swordplay is just a reference to Utena. Sort of all the way the moves are done is just exactly as Utena.
I'm still haven't got round to watching Utena yet, but I'll take your word for it. I trust you.
I'm just going to send you video links of the fight scenes.
But also there's something else which we notice in this fight scene. The first clash, where their blades they just attack each other's blades rather than going for each other.
Yeah.
And it causes a shockwave.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure, but is this the first time we've seen Garnet's hair be blown back into a shape which isn't the regular square?
The only other time I can think of is when she puts on the goggles for swimming in lava.
Yeah, me too. I can't think of any other occasion where it's not been perfectly shaped.
Yeah, but you know,
that's just how awesome this sword fight is.
That's how fearsome the blows are.
Exactly. Sword fights are cool.
Yeah, they are. And then Stephen sort of tries to get Pearl to do the boomerang blade.
Boomerang blade. Boomerang blade. Boomerang blade.
Yeah.
Well, he basically says, Garnet's like saying, it's like, I'll teach you. She starts the training program. Parry, parry, thrust, parry, parry, thrust.
Yeah.
Which drills into your brain because it's repeated so often.
Yeah. Which, when you first start learning fencing, that's what you do.
It's lesson number 1.
Yeah.
And
it's where you learn your footwork.
So she's just kind of sparring with Hollow Pearl.
Yeah.
And Stephen is just kind of egging her on to do Boomerang Blade and to, do all of this stuff, which she's trying to explain calmly as she can.
Yeah, it's like, this is how you learn. This is the real stuff.
It's learning. It's not going to always be fun. You're not going to go from novice to samurai film Boomerang Blade in the day.
Yeah. And then we get the snap of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Pearl don't get killed.
Pearl don't get killed. She gets stabbed through the heart. Which, she's like, no, it's fine. And then she kind of poofs and disappears.
Yeah. I mean, I think this
Stephen's kind of distraught by this, because it's all his fault.
Well, it kind of relates to, the end of the previous episode. We're making new
Horrible,
memories.
horrible memories.
Yeah, we're making new memories. Horrible, horrible memories.
Mm.
And Stephen just starts crying and is distraught.
He just killed Pearl.
Yeah.
And then Hollow Pearl is just like, I win.
Challenger defeated!
She's just pleased as punch.
Well, she's Hollow Pearl. She's evil. And then Garnet explains that, sometimes they need to release their physical form and retreat into their gems.
Mm-hmm.
Which basically means the only real part of them is their gem.
Kind of, yeah.
And then they make fun of Amethyst because it normally happens to her.
Yeah. But I don't know, this seems like the kind of thing that maybe, well, again, it goes back to Stephen being the audience proxy. They're not explaining it to him, they're explaining it to us. But that's the kind of thing which you'd think they might explain to him earlier. So just in case it does happen, like on a mission or something, then he's not going to start.
Well, he's only been going on missions for a short time.
But he's been living around the pearls for
the gems.
Shut up!
They're not all pearl, Dan.
Shut up! I know. He's been living around the gems, a decent while now.
I mean, it could be that they just hid it from him.
Maybe.
Because I imagine that would be Pearl's reactions, like, no, Stephen, Amethyst's just sick. She's going to be in her room for a while.
Mm. And well, they also don't know how that translates to Stephen either.
Yeah. But also, it is sort of noted that this is an unusually long.
I don't think it is. They just say that because the other gems just say they just kind of retreat into their. Well, actually, no. Yes, Amethyst does say that she's taking her sweet ass time.
Yeah, she's taking a really long time.
Mm.
So. Also, I like the fact that Stephen's thought is, well, this pearl is clearly an egg, so place it under a lamp to incubate.
Yeah, that was a nice little touch. I like that.
Yeah. And we also see that his room has just become a total tip.
Yes. Ooh, I have something here. Cleaning with Robo Pearl. Sorry. He basically explains that with Pearl they sort his toys into 3 different subcategories: animal, humanoid, miscellaneous, and then he presents Robo Pearl with Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII, and basically Robo Pearl can handle this because you can't assign Cloud to animal, humanoid, or miscellaneous, so she just snaps and stabs him through the heart.
Yeah.
It's the only logical way to sort a Final Fantasy VII figurine.
Well, also, we do see a number of figurines. So, one like Pikachu, one like Gitaru Man.
And I'm not sure if the weird blue thing was supposed to be Sonic, maybe?
It's a reference to Sanic.
Sanic?
Yes. Which is, parody of Sonic. It's a meme thing.
Okay, so it's a parody of a parody of a character.
Is Sonic a parody of a character?
Say again?
Is Sonic a parody of a character?
Well, no, but his blue thing is a parody of Sonic, which is a parody.
Yeah. Then he defeats Hollow Pearl by throwing stuff at her.
Are there more things before this?
Not really.
Oh, yeah, because he's basically they go to the boardwalk together, Robo Pearl and Stephen.
Yeah, about that bit.
They have, because she has like the balloon sword
and the balloon hat.
Yes, Stephen. Well, they're at the tree where Pearl first tries to get Stephen to summon his shield.
Pearl's favorite tree.
Favorite tree. And
which is permanently in blossom.
Say again?
Which is permanently in blossom.
I'm going to assume that maybe that's something to do with Rose.
Magic.
Yeah, Rose is magic.
Then Hollow Pearl cuts down a tree with a fucking balloon.
I know, that's crazy. It's a balloon. No sharp edges at all.
I guess if you applied enough force, you can cut down anything with anything.
But still, it's a tree, a living tree,
Yeah,
and it's a balloon.
yeah,
It's a no, can't do that.
yeah. Also, it should be noted, Stephen gets a walrus in this scene,
Hmm.
which I think is cute.
I think it's also in this interim between like when Pearl is absent that Amethyst eats the cloud.
Yeah, she's just like, I'm gonna do it.
It's like,
And it's just
go
like,
on, do
fine,
it.
whatever. I don't care.
And then she just kind of balloons.
Yeah. And floats away.
Yeah, never to be seen again. Two gems dead.
Yeah. Um. So then, you know, after some silliness, Stephen takes real Pearl to watch Lonely Blade 5.
Which is in English this time round.
Well, it's a dub,
It's a dub. But
which,
why?
which just shows Stephen has absolute terrible taste. You know, he is total fandom trash.
I don't know. I'm not sure what it's supposed to represent. I think it's probably meant to represent that this time we can't have the screen always on the TV screen. We need to hear the dialogue when we're not actually looking at it, so it's a lot easier. Rather than actually subtitling Steven Universe with the subs of the movie, we'll just put it in English.
Or it could be, you know, these days, does everyone know the war between subs and dubs?
Um, I think that's still going on.
I mean, we don't. I guess you know this modern generation doesn't know the horror of the 4Kids dubs.
I think they're still spoken of in legend.
In legend and lore, the horror that was the 4Kids dub.
In a few hours, the sun will rise.
When, what was it? Sailor Neptune and Uranus were actually um, close friends and not at all lovers. And
Um,
everyone ate jelly donuts.
mm,
That was the only anime we could get, kids.
well, we also had Cardcaptor Sakura, and
Yeah,
which is that was something which I watched when I was like on TV, and it was just like there's the romance between Sakura and whatever the kid's name is.
yeah,
I can't remember
the Chinese kid.
the Chinese kid. And then you watch the actual anime, and it's like, oh yeah, there's a romance between Sakura and her best friend.
Yeah,
There's a romance between Sakura and
um,
Chinese kid. Sakura and her brother's brother's friend.
don't forget
The relationship between Sakura and her brother is much closer. Um, the relationship between one of the students and their teachers. The relationship between the Chinese kid and her brother's friend. It's just everyone. Everyone loves everyone. There's love
no,
everywhere.
you forgot the most important one. The relationship between Sakura and Koyo-chan, or whatever the line was called. Yeah.
I don't remember a romance between those two.
Oh yeah, there's totally a romance between those two.
I might have missed that.
Yeah,
Like early on or later?
it was kind of, it was made fun of.
Huh. Well, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, it was like those jokes that you turned to eating it because Sakura wouldn't return his love.
But I'll have to watch it again.
Mm.
We've got very sidetracked. Um,
Yeah, yeah, this is a reference-seeked episode. So now the true battle begins because Hollow Pearl destroys the only other thing Stephen loves, his
The TV.
television.
um, and yeah, and Holly Pearl basically just tricks Steven into saying, "Fight me."
Yeah. Which a pre-programmed machine that cannot really interact tricks Stephen.
Yep. That's how I choose to believe that this scene has played out.
That just shows how dumb Stephen is.
And I don't know, if your sole purpose in life is to fight people, and you've not been able to fight anyone in 2 weeks, maybe you would get into the whole mind games thing.
It's not that intelligent.
It is basically just running a program. It's like, does someone want to fight you? No. Ask if someone wants to fight you. No. Ask if someone wants to fight you.
Yeah, it's a regression loop.
Mm.
Um, and then we see the effectiveness of sports boomerangs.
Mm-hmm. It does nothing.
Yep. Turns out War Shields are also ineffective against swords.
Yeah, because somehow Hollow Pearl has got her real sword back. Although I'm not sure if it really would have mattered that much. If she can cut down a tree with a balloon, she could probably cut down Stephen.
Yeah. Then they do battle mop against sword.
Yep. The mop gets mostly chopped to pieces.
But it does create a sharp edge, from which boomerang blade!
Yes. The sword technique, which we've been told the entire episode, is just fancy and would never work in a real setting and is just stupid. Saves the day.
Yeah.
Which is a bit silly.
But it is at a moment when Stephen realizes one of Pearl's lessons, that he needs to wait for the right opportunity and strike.
Maybe it's also kind of a lesson in, well, knowing your opponent. If Hollow Pearl is fighting essentially the same style as Pearl, the one thing which she's not going to expect is the boomerang blade, because it's not a real sword technique.
True, and it's not done with a real sword either.
No. So it's the perfect moment to strike with the perfect thing to catch her off guard.
And, Stephen realizes that he needs to accept that, accept things as they are.
I don't think so.
Well, then...
Almost learns that lesson.
Then Pearl comes back.
And I think the lesson just kind of poofs off, and he doesn't actually learn it.
Yeah. Then we learn what happened to Amethyst.
She got hit by an airplane!
Yeah. And then we learn what Stephen planned to do when Pearl came back.
Something which Pearl would absolutely love.
Yeah.
He ties his shield around his head and starts banging pots and pans together.
Chanting, Pearl's back, Pearl's back.
And this just kind of goes to show what happens when Pearl leaves for a minute.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I can't leave you guys alone at all, can I?
Chaos reigns.
Yes, basically. Any other notes for this episode? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We see one of Stephen's consoles.
Oh, I was going to say that Pearl gets a new costume, but yeah, we can talk about the console.
Gaming's far more important. Actually, there's a whole thing I want to talk about with the regeneration. But we see that Stephen has an N64 in this episode.
Was it an N64?
Yeah.
It was definitely like a top-load cartridge system, but I think it was...
It was definitely an N64. In another episode, he's seen having a SNES.
Mm-hmm.
And in another episode, he's seen having a GameCube.
Do we know this essentially because of the controllers? I don't remember looking at them that closely.
It's just something you see in the background.
Fair enough.
Yes, Pearl's regeneration.
It's kind of a cool regeneration blow as well, where it's just kind of light gathers and it looks like energy is being poured into the gem, and then the outline of Pearl comes back and...
Yeah.
Poof.
Well, and we see various different costumes. Starting, I think, with the pilot's costume. Then we see there's one or two that we don't know about. Then there's...
Oh, we see multiple costumes.
Yes. This has been thoroughly analysed.
Frame by frame, I'd imagine. I just remember seeing just like an outline. It's basically just like pearl, creamy, light hue, which is just kind of most of the screen, and then just like an outline of Pearl. At least that's what I remember.
Oh no, we definitely see multiple outfits, one of which we recently saw in the show. And then we also see Pearl has a new outfit.
Mm-hmm. Does this outfit stick?
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. I like change that sticks.
Yeah, though it hasn't changed yet in the opening. The new design's pretty interesting. It's sort of slightly less ballet costume.
Yeah. There's like the whole kind of ribbon sash type thing going on.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. It's not too different, but it's like, yeah, I noticed it. I saw what they were trying to put.
Yeah. I mean, I've sent you images of the the costume we saw in Story for Stephen.
Wait, say again?
Uh, the costume we saw in Story for Stephen, the cute young Pearl with the leg warmers.
Yes. I don't really remember much of the costume there.
But yeah,
But
we do see a variety, and there is a frame by frame comparison.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Um, so, what did you think of this episode?
Oh, one more thing which I wanted to mention.
Mm-hmm.
All of the gem monsters, essentially what's happened to them, well, is essentially what's happened to them. Their physical form has been damaged so much that they need to retreat into their gems, and then the gems are all kept on ice,
In the basement.
quotation marks, in the temple. Are they going to regenerate into the monsters again when they're in the temple?
Well, that's what they're contained in the temple. They're basically in gem prison.
But do they like stay in their gems, or do they reform?
They stay in their gems.
Okay.
Basically, what happens to them is they're forced into their gems, and then they can't come out.
What happens if they escape to the temple, but they all just kind of spew out into the world and
Yeah.
that could make for a fun episode.
In fact, an upcoming episode is about that happening.
Fun.
Yes. A monster rampages through the temple, and Stephen, Amethyst, and Garnet have to chase after it.
Who's that? Because I was just thinking, what we really need for that episode is not a monster rampaging through the temple. We just need someone from the government, from like the National Health Service. Now, basically, what I'm trying to get at is Ghostbusters 1, where the guy whose name I can't remember, he just kind of goes by Dickless, kind of goes in, shuts everything off, and then everything escapes.
Does it work for the CDC?
Possibly.
I don't know.
But everyone knows like Dickless from Ghostbusters, so that's all I need to say.
Yeah.
We all know the scene. We all know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what needs to happen in the Steven Universe episode.
Well, we'll see in a couple of weeks. Though, when you're listening to this, who knows? Actually, by the time this is posted, that will be the week of the episode, so who knows?
Who knows?
Well,
Um,
writers.
right, yeah. People in production, yeah.
Because that episode was made like a year ago.
Another thing which I was going to say, because next episode we're going to be looking at, what is it, Lion 2, The Lion Returns?
Lion 2, the movie.
Lion 2, the movie. I need to, like, postulate a new idea about what I think the origin story of Lion is.
Yeah, we do actually see Lion in this episode, though.
We did see Lion, yes. He was basically doing an amethyst. He was just being lazy.
Well, it was a rainy day. He didn't want to get his fur wet.
I think he yawned once. That's about
I'm a lion.
Was he created by Rose before she died?
Maybe.
I
Who knows?
think that's probably it. I'm not. Maybe as like a gift for Stephen, or just like an animal that she kind of created just with her all kind of creating, well, her playing God, creating life, and, well, just making a friend for Stephen just as like a something to pass down.
Who knows?
Because, you know, he was in like the Gem Fortress, so it's definitely got Gem history, and maybe Pearl was, no, maybe Rose was there previously, and, you know, it's an idea that I've. Is this my closest idea?
This is your second idea.
This is my second idea. Is it closer? Am I getting warmer?
You're looking in the vaguely right direction.
Vaguely right direction. Awesome.
Yeah.
Overall, I kind of like this episode.
Yeah.
what is it? Is it prophetic fallacy? Where it's no, it's something I can't remember. Where the weather fits the mood.
Oh, yes, I see. Yeah, this is an episode where it's constantly raining.
Well, no, because I think it's raining at the start, but then they go to the temple and it's all sunny. Then Pearl dies, and then thunder and lightning and rain.
Um, no, there's thunder and lightning during the climactic fight scene.
Hmm.
But it is sunny before that because they go to the fair.
Oh yeah.
And as someone who has lived by the coast, I can attest it. Can rain quite frequently.
Hmm. It's like the really dark, well, the really solemn, somber moments are all punctuated by rain.
And lightning.
Um, but yeah, I kind of like this. It's more gem mythos. It's more kind of stuff we're learning about the gems.
Mm-hmm.
It's the sword fight's cool. It had a really cool action sequence. Um, I don't think Stephen has really learned much about swordplay.
No,
I don't know. Maybe he did learn the whole lesson of striking at the right moment, and
but you're
we'll,
taught
we'll
that by
see
video
later on.
games.
Say again?
You're taught that by video games.
Well, maybe he has been taught that by video games, but this is like the first time it's kind of crossed into actual stuff, like real life action,
Mm.
real
Well,
life fighting.
let's be fair. Most of the things he fights has a glowing red weak point.
We
Or,
haven't fought the giant enemy crab though.
yeah, we have. I mean, it was kind of a weird octopus crab thing, but you know.
The octopus crab, the thing with the tentacles and like the little
Spike things, yeah.
spikes. Yeah. Well, it was kind of crab-like, I guess.
I'm certain we fought that monster in one of the Zelda games.
Well, there in Link's Awakening, yes, there are like two crab things. You need to wait until you can shoot them in the eye.
Mm. Or just punch them in the anus like that episode.
No, Legend of Zelda doesn't let you do that.
No,
Unfortunate.
you have to throw bombs into the anus if it's like Legend of Zelda.
So yeah, um, there was a lot of silliness. There was the boomerang blade. There was the two movies that were quite silly and very,
Mm.
I think, seemed very anime-ish. Um, and just like weird bits in it, which just kind of were kind of fun with like the Lonely Blade
Mm-hmm.
samurai is like talking to this weird demon type thing. It's like, "You're my brother." It's like, "Yes." It's like, "You're not my brother." Ah, and just silly moments like that were quite funny.
Yeah.
It was fun, and yeah, Robo kind of again adds to the silliness, just like the things which he says. Um, just the kind of contrast between like the life and then just Robo the disconnect there kind of added to the silliness and the funness of the episode. Um, could you hear that?
Yeah.
Damn kids.
Damn children and their existing.
Damn children, always ruining everything. Yeah, I think it was like a pretty fun. Yeah, I think it was a pretty fun, pretty enjoyable. It was a good episode for me. I liked it. There were the action beats, there were the fun beats, there was the silliness, there was the seriousness. It had all of the things.
Well, okay. Um, this is one of my favorite episodes, to be honest. You know, I got to this episode in the series and was like, okay, this series is for me. I'm going to watch all of this. I don't care if the other episodes are crap, this episode has won me. Because, first of all, this is an episode that has the balls to kill off a main character.
Even if it is only 2 weeks.
It's temporary, but think about it. As far as Steven is concerned, Pearl is dead.
Yeah, and that was a very kind of heroic moment.
Yeah, and that, I mean, just thinking of sort of the meta of this, the psychological torment in this episode is horrifying for Steven.
Horrible, horrible memories.
Yeah. You know, one of his
Yeah, he's watching The Lonely Blade 5 and he has flashbacks to the moment. That's pretty heavy stuff.
yeah, he has PTSD from this episode.
Mm.
You know, effectively, one of his mothers was killed, and it was his fault. Everyone says she'll come back, but he has no evidence of this.
Well, I don't know. Well, he has his other two moms saying that, this stuff does happen.
Yeah, but he's never seen this before.
Mm.
You know, maybe they're going to go out and get another Pearl who looks kind of similar.
And, well, yeah, and then Amethyst does say, this is taking like a really long time. If I was in Steven's shoes, then I'd be like, it's like, why is it taking this long? Is this longer than usual? Has something has something gone wrong, essentially?
Yeah, and also, he thinks it's his fault.
Yeah,
I mean, kind of is, but
kind of is, but still, yeah,
it,
it's very unfair to say that it's his fault.
yeah, it's in that sort of Pearl is the sort of master swordsman. She should have been more careful, but
Mm.
Stephen was annoying her.
Yeah,
Everyone's to blame.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I enjoy this episode. I like the references. You know, I love cheesy samurai movies, so the Lonely Blade stuff just is right up my alley. So yeah, this is one of my favorite episodes. Not much more I can say really.
hmm
Let's wrap this out.
yeah. Um, Thanks for watching. We've been expletives included. Although I'm not sure if we've said this before, we use remarkably few expletives.
That is
Um,
that's kind of the joke behind the name.
Fair enough. We can cut this part out.
Hmm.
We've been expletives included. I've been Dan. This has been Keir. Thanks
Bye.
for watching. Goodbye.